Greetings all, this is Miss Sarah from New England County 4-H, and today we're going to be going over our second build of 4-H Farm Tales, which we're going to be learning about flower farms. So as you can see, I have this crazy diagram on the board behind me, and this is a flower actually, as hard as it is to tell. So we have all the anatomical parts that we need to worry about today, and that means all of the scientific body parts that make up a plant. So there are male and female parts of a flower, and the female parts collectively are all called the pistil, and the male parts collectively are called the stamen. So as you can see, I've drawn in blue on this flower diagram the male parts. So this is a filament, and it's this thin tissue that extends up into the air, and on the top of it, it's got this anther. And on the anther, there's lots and lots of pollen. And the reason why this is so tall is that when the wind blows by, or when a bee comes by, or when an animal comes by, the pollen either blows in the wind or sticks to the animal or insect, and then it's deposited to other different flowers in the area to fertilize. Then on here, we have our female parts, the pistil. On the bottom here, we have our ovary, and then the little ones right here are the ovules, and then this long piece is a style, and then this right up here is the stigma. And so what happens is that, say the wind blows by, the wind picks up the pollen from the anthers, and it brings it over here, and it sticks, the pollen sticks to the stigma. And then the pollen gets to spread down to the ovaries and the ovules where it can fertilize. And that's how we get our fertilized seeds, which then can grow into another plant. So today we are going to be building our monster flower, and it's important to keep in mind all the different body parts that we talked about in our flower diagram. And in your kit, you're going to see that you have one of these flower diagrams, so you can tell exactly which parts of the plant are which. In your kit, you are also going to find 3 pieces of colored paper, 5 pipe cleaners, 2 large balloons, 3 small balloons, a piece of tissue paper, and a piece of yellow paper. In addition to the things that are in your kit, you're also going to need some masking tape, some scissors. I recommend also grabbing a permanent marker or another dark marker. And then you're going to need your umbrella, which is going to serve as the base of your monster flower. In addition to these items, we also have our Farming Connection card of the week, which talks a little bit more about flower farms. So any of the arrangements or bouquets that you see in the store or you might have brought home, those flowers were all grown at flower farms. And one of a very famous type of flower farm is a tulip farm. So maybe you've seen the big sprawling fields full of colorful tulips. Now if you're buying flowers in the winter time, flowers prefer to grow in the warm weather and during the summertime and the spring. So any flower that you usually are able to buy in the winter has probably been grown in a greenhouse where the flower farmers are able to regulate and maintain the same warm temperature all year round so that those flowers are able to thrive. So now that we've gone over a little bit about what's in our kit, we're going to start our build for today. Now it's time for us to start building our monster flower. So this umbrella is going to serve as our base. And the next thing that we need to grab is our 2 large balloons. So take a moment and pause this video and blow up your large balloons. Now these large balloons are going to serve as our ovules, and our ovules, as you can see from our diagram, are housed in the ovary. So we're going to take our ovules and we're going to put them into our flower. You can rearrange it however you see fit. And you're going to have the easiest time if you put your umbrella on something. I used 2 pieces of tape, 2 containers of tape, and so now it just sits like this. I'm going to take my tissue paper, I'm going to unwrap it, I'm going to coat my ovules with my ovary. There we go. Now our stem is going to serve as our style. So now we need to put something on top to make the stigma. So we're going to take our yellow piece of paper, and you can cut out a shape that looks similar to this for your stigma. And then, if you'd like, you can secure it with tape. Okay, so now that I have made my style, that sits right, and my stigma, which sits right on top of my style, we are going to work on the male part of the plant. And if you remember, that includes our anther and our filament. So you have 5 pieces of pipe cleaner, but you're only going to need to use 3 because we have 3 small balloons. And our small balloons are going to serve as our anthers, and our pipe cleaners are going to serve as our filaments. So now we're going to take our tape, and we're going to take one of our pipe cleaners and one of our small balloons, and we're going to tape our small balloon onto our pipe cleaner. You might find it easiest to bend the pipe cleaner and fit the end of the balloon onto the pipe cleaner, and then you can just tape around that little bend. Once I have secured this, I'm going to take my black permanent marker and I'm going to make little dots on our balloon, and this is going to represent the pollen on our anther. So now that we've done that for all 3 of our filament anther combinations, we are going to attach our stamens to our flower. So we're going to take a piece of tape. You might find it helpful to pre-peel some tape. We're going to tape the filament end to the inside of our umbrella. And it's okay if they fall over a little bit. Now, if you find that your filaments with your anthers on top are falling over because of the weight of the small balloon, you could put another piece of tape higher up on the filament to hold it into place. There we go. So now we have our ovules with our ovary around them, and we have our filaments, these 3 pipe cleaners, and we have our anthers with our pollen on top. And we have our style and our stigma. the last part of the equation, we need our pieces of construction paper. Now, with just these flower parts, our flower isn't very pretty, and so we need to use our petals to attract pollinators and different animals, which are going to spread the pollen to new flowers and then fertilize their ovaries and ovules. So we are going to take our scissors and our paper, and you can make your petals as pretty or as functional as you'd like, and you can use any shape you'd like. I am going to go with the traditional flower shape. Now that I have my petals, I'm going to put them in here. And there we go. We have our monster flower, fully functional with all of its anatomical body parts. There we go. So what would happen is that the pollen would be blown by the wind or or distributed by another animal or a pollinator. It would stick on top of our stigma. It would travel down the style, and when it got to the ovules in the ovary, it would fertilize the ovules, and now these ovules are what we call a seed. So then their seeds are able to be planted in the ground to make new plants. But typically what happens is that the ovary grows into this big fleshy tissue that we call fruit. And so contained in our fruit, which used to be our ovary, is our ovules, which are now seeds. And now you and I pick a seed and, pick a fruit. Maybe it's an apple, so we eat our apple, and when we're done, all of those seeds are still contained in the apple core. Maybe we throw the apple core out into the woods or into our yard, and then those seeds are able to interact with the ground, and they get sunlight and they get water, and then they're able to sprout and they grow into this new plant which grows new flowers, and the cycle starts all over again. So thank you so much for joining us for our second week of 4-H Farm Tales, wherein we made our monster flower. We hope you had fun, and let us know in the comments how you did. Thanks!